Hello everybody, welcome to my channel where I talk about my life in grad school. It has been a while since I posted anything, and that is because I've been super busy, and yeah. So I just figured I'd do a little life update and eat breakfast while I do it. So I had since I last posted, I had a baby who is now 4 months old, 4.5 months-ish maybe. And then I graduated with my master's in clinical mental health counseling. So I have started my first job as a clinical mental health counselor. I do that full time now. I no longer am the director of a nonprofit. And so yeah, I do that full time now. And I'm still writing my dissertation. Was I writing my dissertation before? I think I was. When I last posted, I think I was starting it. So now I am in the data collection process. And I have like 63 participants, I believe. But I need 148 total. So getting there. I'm getting there. I had to make an amendment to my IRB application to ask for permission to recruit in other ways that I originally asked. So I'm waiting for approval for that before I can proceed with my new ideas. So that's what's going on. Now, as a counselor, I am working mostly telehealth. I do go into the office twice a week for in-person sessions, but my in-person people have moved back to telehealth for some reason. I know what the reasons are, but anyway. So they're back on telehealth for the time being. One interesting and awesome thing that this pandemic has done for people with agoraphobia, it has helped them to get access to mental health care without having to leave the house, especially with like Medicaid and those types of insurances, because I believe, according to my supervisor, Medicaid, at least in my state, was not reimbursing or would not cover telehealth services. And so if you're agoraphobic and the thought of leaving your house terrifies you, then you're just gonna, what are you gonna do? What's easier for you? You're gonna stay in your house and you're just gonna be agoraphobic. But now I actually have a client who's agoraphobic and able to get services because of the telehealth, because they're now reimbursing for telehealth, which is awesome. So anyway, that's just a side note. But anyway, so this morning, my days have been a little bit different, obviously, with a kid. I woke up this morning. I usually wake up around 7:30-ish to pump because I'm an exclusive pumper. I don't nurse anymore. Nursing was just not working for her. It wasn't working for me. She was one of those babies who would like latch on and then go to sleep immediately. So she would go to sleep hungry and wake up 10 minutes later crying again. Then she'd do it all over again. Okay, she's, nursed. She latches out and goes back to sleep. Okay, wakes me up again 10 minutes later. Latches out. That happened 3 times. One night at 3 a.m, and I was like, I'm done with this. I gave her a 5-ounce bottle that I had in the refrigerator that I pumped earlier. And that was it. It was like lights out. She drank it in one sitting, and that was it. That was the moment where I decided I'm a pumper through and through. And so that, in addition to like all of the like issues with her latching and my nipple getting damaged, it's just like both of my nipples are just never the same, but will never be the same. But anyways, so yeah, the pumping works for both of us, and that's what we're gonna do. So that's what we've been doing, and it works very well. So yeah, so I pump 5 times a day. I pump twice in the morning, once in the afternoon, and twice at night. And yeah, I'll talk about breastfeeding in another video. But yeah, I basically pump around 40 ounces a day, and she drinks 30 ounces a day. So I have a refrigerator stash and I have a freezer stash. The refrigerator stash is obviously for the coming days, whereas the freezer stash is like, I didn't have any more bottles. All the bottles are either dirty because she drank out of them, or they're in the refrigerator. And so I will just put it in the freezer, or I ran out of room in the refrigerator because I have like a little drawer that I keep all the milk in. If I run out of room, I just freeze the milk that I just pumped. Well, anyway, I also cloth diaper, and so I'm washing her diapers now in the washing machine. And I fed the dog. You know, my morning is basically all about childcare, feeding the dog and taking her outside. And yeah, recently the baby started sleeping through the night again, because she was going through that 4-month sleep regression thing, but now she's sleeping through the night again. So I actually don't need to take a morning nap. Like, I usually used to take a morning nap when she took her morning nap. And I don't have to do that anymore because, well, I don't have to do that today because I don't feel tired because I slept through the night. So that's nice. So that's good because I have a lot of charting to do. You're supposed to chart right after you're done with the session, but I don't always get the chance to do that, especially when it's a diagnostic evaluation. Those take an hour, and so I have a lot to chart with those. Now, interestingly, I was I had become a part-time in-home therapist as well as part-time outpatient, but right now everybody's outpatient for me. But I did have one in-home client at one point, and I was my first one. And so I was in the session with the lead therapist, and she was charting while she was doing the telehealth appointment. Like, I was like, oh, that is so smart. I did not think about that. Because I had wanted, you know, I always had like a paper packet of what I do through my diagnostic assessment. And, you know, with telehealth, I wanted to make it feel as natural as in person, where I would not be sitting on my computer charting while I'm talking to the person I'm going to be talking to you. We're jotting notes down every once in a while, but mostly talking to you. And so that's what I've been doing through telehealth, but I'm like, you know, we've been doing telehealth for like over a year now, so maybe I should just chart while they're talking. I don't know. I feel like, but she did it in such a way that made it feel so normal, natural, and conversational. It was like she was completely tuned in and zoned into what they were saying. It wasn't like she was completely zoned into her chart, you know? So if I could figure out how to do it that way, that would be great. I think about that, but then I'm like, I mean, I guess I could. I have enough computers. Because I was going to say, I like to look at people's faces when I talk to them. I can't do that if I'm charting. However, my husband bought me a new laptop for Mother's Day. And it has like the sidecar thing that I could use. So I could still look at her while I'm charting. Or look at them while I'm charting. But I don't know. I feel like personally, when I'm in a meeting and I hear someone typing, it distracts me. So I don't know I don't think I'll do that. But it is super convenient, but I just don't think I'll do that. Yeah. So yeah, I have a lot of charting to catch up on. I will just talk briefly about what I've been up to then. Because I can't chart and talk at the same time. I have to focus on what I'm doing. So, basically with outpatient therapy, I have my own schedule that I get to work. That reminds me, somebody texted me to ask me if they can schedule an appointment this week. I have to email her or text her back. But anyways, but see things like that come up. So I run my own schedule, and people will text me, oh shoot, it's time to pump again. So people will text me like to schedule an appointment and stuff, and I have to figure out how I'm gonna do this with pumping. Hold on. Okay, so my right breast was leaking and I was wondering, why is it leaking? What time is it? And yeah, it was time to pump again. So I'm pumping now. Ta-da. I put the strap on here so it's easy to carry around the house. If I need to. And it's so funny because the baby also woke up at the same time, so she's sitting in her swing now. Why are you sitting in your swing now? Yes. Oh, you're so cute. Yeah. Yeah. You got those sit-ups right there. Okay. So anyways, being an outpatient therapist, it's got positive. It's got positives because I get to set my own schedule, which is nice. The downfall is that, though, that you set your schedule around your client's schedule too. And so, for example, I have somebody who I was seeing in the evenings who just started school, so now I can only see that person in the mornings. And I had set my schedule to where I'm only available from 3 to 8. And now I have to make accommodations for that person. So those types of things come up. You have to be flexible with people. So now I've changed my schedule around, so I'm available from 2 to 8, so they can get more appointments in. But then I also have the people that need, like I have a couple people who need an earlier, like a morning time appointment, which I only do when my husband works afternoons. If he's working in the morning, I won't. I'm not doing that to myself. It's too hard. With a baby, and I have nobody here to watch her. Excuse me, I'm just gonna be squeezing a little bit here. I do that sometimes. Just so I don't know how the milk come out. What was I saying? Okay. So anyways, so that's with counseling and stuff. So I am doing that full time. I'm still in school full time for finishing my doctorate in IO psychology. That's going okay. I just wish I would get participants faster. I have used Survey Circle. That has helped. I use like their Facebook page. That helps a lot because a lot of people need you to do theirs too. So it's like, I'll do yours if you do mine type of thing. I solicited participants through both my schools, both my graduate schools. And I got a lot of people that way too. So, that was good. So I just need like the final push. I'm like halfway there. Come on. Give me more data. So my dissertation chair told me to put an amendment, and then in my IRB application and resend it so that they can approve that. I sent it, and then they wanted me to like add a disclaimer that if you know me personally, you cannot participate in my research. So I added that, and then I resubmitted it. So I'm waiting for them to send me back an approval letter. So yeah, once I have that, then I'm going to, oh my goodness, I just saying Dada. Once I have that letter from the IRB, I'm going to, what am I going to do? Repost on Survey Circle. I already asked for permission to join a couple of other survey groups on Facebook, and so I'm going to post on there. Once I have the approval letter, then I'll post on there. I have to update my survey to have that amendment in there that if you know me personally, you cannot take my survey, participate in my research. And then, which nobody's gonna know me personally because nobody I know is doing any research. I'm only posting in research forums. I'm not in online social media. But it, just to cover basis, ethics and all these things, and what else, bias and all those things that we learn about. But yeah, so once I have that, and I hit that data, I am going to hit the ground running with doing those statistics and writing I already wrote my methodology. I'm gonna write my results, my limitations, my discussions. I'm gonna update my literature review because I definitely need to get some more, but change some things around. And then I can submit my drafts to my dissertation chair to review. Then I would do my oral defense, and that's it. Oh, that's another thing. So before I went on, since the last time I posted, I did my oral dissertation proposal defense, where you have to talk about your study to some readers, I suppose. I think that's what they're called. They're basically people who give you critiques. Like, they tell you what you can do better, or have you considered this or that, or you need to change that and this and blah, blah, blah. So how it works is I send my paper first. I give them 2 weeks to read it, and then they have their critiques that they email it to me back before my oral proposal. Are you pooping? Did I just change your poop? Are you pooping again? She's smiling at me. Okay. So, and then once I see their critiques on the paper, I update my presentation to answer those questions or to address the critiques. And so I did that, and so I passed that. And then after that, I had to do my my doctoral qualifying exam. It's the exam you have to do before you can move on to dissertation research, actually collecting data. And I did that the week before I was induced. So I was 9 months pregnant while I was doing that and the other thing, the oral proposal defense, yeah. And I passed that too. So how that worked was, my school does it where you had the exam was a whole entire term. It was a whole entire 8 weeks. And so the first couple of weeks we had prompts that we had to answer, and they had to do with I don't remember. I think they had to do with recruitment. It was fictitious scenarios, and you had to talk about how you would initiate a training plan and recruitment and all that stuff. But the big whopper part of it was in the last few weeks, where there were 3 prompts, I believe. First 2 prompts were easy peasy lemon squeezy. The last prompt was the hardest because it included doing some stats. So the whole point of that exam is to basically be a comprehensive exam, in the sense that the prompts that they give you incorporate all of these things that you've been learning for the past 3 years. So we did, in one prompt we did talent management and recruitment, and another prompt we did diversity issues, I don't remember what else, some other stuff. And then in the final prompt we did statistics, diversity issues, training planning, job analysis. Oh no, job analysis was the first one, I think. Human factors was in there somewhere, things like that. Just a taste of everything was in the prompts. So the last one was hardest because they wanted you to do a statistic test based, they gave you a bunch of data, basically a bunch of numbers and letters, and you were to make sense of this data for the organization that collected the data. Now in my brain I'm thinking, yeah, I'm gonna get to that. In my brain I'm thinking, why in the world would an organization collect data and not know what to do with it? I think they would have a plan, but I think just for the sake of this, they didn't do it that way, or they did it this way. So we get the data, and we're told that organization wants to know the relationship between two variables, plus they want to know this and that, and then also anything else that you can think of that would be useful for them to know based on this data, and what they should do with it. Give them practical things to do with this data, or with their organization based on this data. So I said, okay, in my brain I'm thinking I'm supposed to do one statistical test to analyze and then tell them what to do, like what it means, and then my suggestions for what to do. So it took me 3 days to think about what test to do. I'm pouring through, I have a binder about this thick, no joke, with statistics resources, just articles about chi-square and MANOVA, ANOVA, regression, all the things. And then, so I was pouring through that and my stats notes, and I was trying to be like, I can't think of one test that does all these things. They want a correlation, they want a predictor, they want this and that. And I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Then I realized it never anywhere in the prompt said I needed to do one test. And so I was like, oh, I can do multiple tests. So with that, I went with it. I ran with that. I did 3 chi-square tests, I think, and then I did a multiple regression. I did a correlation. I think I did a t-test, 2 t-tests or something like that. And I got all this data. And so then like now I have plenty to talk about. And I have plenty of suggestions to make. So we, after that you write a paper basically with your proposal of what the organization should do with this information. And then you present it live to your instructor, who was pretending to be like the manager that you're presenting to, or the executive that you're presenting to. So he was in like full swing like acting mode, because he was like, doing small talk and asking questions that an executive would ask and all these things. And then afterwards, he gives you feedback like right after. And then he basically tells you if you passed or not, based on what he's read from your proposal and then based on your presentation. But he does just informally tells you, I think you've passed, or he'll and then he will give you like the formal grade later on. But yeah, so he told me I passed after that, and I was like so excited, because I was like, oh, thank goodness I don't have to do anything. Now I can just focus on giving birth. Because I honestly don't think I prepared as well as I wanted to for giving birth. I did take a pre-birthing class, like a natural one, like natural pain management one. I didn't end up doing anything that they suggested except for the breathing, which I guess is the most important thing anyway. I was like, I'm gonna use my ball, which I did use the ball. But I didn't use it during like the most intense. I was just like basically using it while I felt okay, just bouncing on the ball and like moving around on it to help my hips open up and things like that. But once they put that induction like in me, and I was waiting, all those hours or whatever, and I started to feel that stuff, only thing I did was moan and breathe. Like I couldn't move, because I was just like, when I'm in pain, I don't want to move around, I just want to lay there. breathe through it. But yeah, I thought I was going to use the jacuzzi. I didn't use the jacuzzi. I was so annoyed with myself that I didn't. But I think when you're giving birth, you have to do what feels right for your body to do. So if I didn't feel right for me to get into the water, I wasn't getting into the water. Plus I was going to, but the doctor said you should get some sleep, because she's not going to be born until tomorrow. So I was like, well, I'll try to get sleep, but I was in pain, so how can I sleep? I didn't sleep at all. I gave birth and I was half asleep. Like afterwards, as soon as it was over, I was like, oh, I'm so tired. I was so tired. Oh, but I did not give birth naturally. I did get that epidural. At first I got some other pain medication, and that worked really well, but it didn't work the second time, because it wore off and I needed something again, and it didn't work. So I got the epidural, and And I mean, I still hurt. I still felt everything. Trust me. I felt the tear. I felt everything. So, so I mean, they make it so that you still have to feel it. Cause I told the nurse, like, this isn't working. I still feel. She's like, well, it just takes the edge off of it. It's not gonna make it so that you don't feel anything because you need to know when to push. And I was like, oh, nobody told me this. And so, but I'm glad that they do it like that because I did only have to push for 2 hours, whereas my mom told me she had to push for like, dang, I don't remember how long she said she had to push when she was giving birth to me, because back then when they gave the epidural you didn't feel anything, or at least she didn't. But heck, they don't do that anymore. You're gonna feel this so that you can know when to push. And so I gave birth to her in 2 hours. Yes, 2 hours of pushing. Yes, 2 hours of pushing. Thank goodness, because I don't think I could push a minute longer than that. All right, so anyways, that's what I've been up to. Thank you for coming, watching my channel. Leave comments and questions if you have them, and I will try to get to them maybe soon. Okay? Thanks.